On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff, I welcome you to the Chamber's April luncheon. This afternoon, we welcome 2 county board members, the Chief Justice, and a project architect to give us an update on what to expect with the new county courthouse. Our first speaker this afternoon is Will County Chief Circuit Judge, the Honorable Richard Schoenstedt. Judge Schoenstedt is a Will County native and a graduate of Joliet Catholic High School. He has a BA from Marquette and a Juris Doctorate from DePaul University School of Law. He's been active in serving the residents of Will County, having served on the Board of Directors of the Will County Bar Association for 9 years, with 1 year as president, the Board of Directors of Will County Crisis Line for 10 years, with 2 years as president, the Joliet Catholic Academy School Board for 6 years, and the St. Mary's Grade School Board for 5 years, with 1 year as president. Judge Schoenstedt and his wife Mary Beth live in Plainfield Township and raised 3 daughters, youngest of which will be graduating from college next week. And I'm envious. In 2001, he was appointed Associate Judge of the 12th Judicial Circuit and was elected Circuit Judge of the 12th Judicial Circuit in 2002. In 2012, he was elected as our Chief Circuit Judge. Please welcome Will County Chief Circuit Judge, the Honorable Richard Schoenstedt.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have good news for you, bad news for me. I left my remarks in my chambers. But that's okay, since I've done this enough where I probably can say a few things before I pass the mic along. I used to talk probably for the last 2.5 years at events like this a lot about the need for a new courthouse, a new judicial facility. We had to have one. But that's done. Everybody understood the need. Everybody now understands the need. What's important now, what's critical, is that we construct the new courthouse. That is essential to maintaining a fair and impartial judicial system in Will County. The interesting thing about when I speak is that I talk to a lot of different groups, a lot of different people. But what remains the same is that this has always been a collaborative effort. What we've done to accomplish to this point, lawyers, labor, the public, and you, the business leaders in the city of Joliet, as well as the entire county, have been essential to what we've been doing to this point. But make no mistake about it, it is government that decides what capital projects are necessary and how to get them done. And on behalf of the entire judiciary, I can't express my appreciation more for all those governmental entities that have been involved with helping us get so quickly to this stage today. I would especially like to point out those that are here today and those that have been so much interested in this project. Not only the 2 county board members that will be speaking in a moment, but I know, and if I miss somebody, I'm going to ask, but as I came through and I said hello to a lot of people, certainly we have our county executive here today, Larry Walsh. We have here Mayor of Joliet, Bob Oderkirk, and the city manager, Jim Hott. We have at the state level of government, we have state senators Jennifer Tarrant, and we have Senators Pat McGuire here. So we have all levels of government. We also have our elected state's attorney, Jim Glasgow, I saw here. Hello, Jim. Didn't get a chance to talk to you earlier. And I mentioned labor before. We have a lot of labor representatives here. We have the president of the Will and Grundy Building Trades, Dr. Gregory. Hi, Doc. Thanks a lot for being here. We have at least one other city councilman here, too, John Durrell. We also have some other county board members here. Annette Parker and Don Moran are anybody? No.
State Representative Mark Batnick.
Pardon me?
State Representative Mark
Well, State
Batnick.
Rep Mark Batnick is here. Okay, hi. Oh, you're hiding, Mark. But I mentioned all of you, not only say hello and thank you for coming, and you should be acknowledged and recognized here, but also that this courthouse has been that kind of an effort. At the state level, it meant a lot for us to go to the state and say, help us pass this judicial facilities fee. And they did that. Senators McGuire and Bertino Tarrant were instrumental in that. And quite frankly, and that's not a tax, that's a fee that only gets tacked on to those who use the courthouse. And already to date, since that's been implemented, we have over $1.5 million in that account. And that goes only for the construction of this judicial facility. And at the other end too, local government, represented by Mayor Oderkirk and Mr. Gurl, they have also stepped up and made a huge commitment to this facility in Joliet. But again, having thanked them, what's also important for you all to note is that the burden of this primarily falls upon local, county government. And I'm not talking about the judicial branch of county government, that's a separate branch, but it's our job to point out when we need something, and we did, and it's the other two branches of county governments, it's their job to understand that, figure out what's necessary, and implement whatever they need to do to be sure that the judiciary is taken care of. So we do have a consistent and constant, impartial, and fair judicial system. And that's the county board and the county executive's office. And again, thanks to all the county board members, and thanks to Larry Walsh and his people for the work that they've done again today. We are ever so close to getting this to a reality, to finalizing this, getting this to a conclusion. And we're here today to tell you exactly where we've been, where we are now, and where we expect to get to. And I'm going to pass this microphone off to two county board members who have been also instrumental in this process. It is their committees that have planned this, organized this, and are figuring out how to pay for this. And they're going to talk about that. We have here two members. We have the chairperson of the Will County Capital Improvement Committee and the chairperson of the Finance Committee that will be talking to you as well. Howard, are you going to be introducing them? All right, that's all I have to say is, and I'm more of a cheerleader here today, but if you have any questions about issues relating to the courthouse and need and the priority and why safety, security, space is an issue, I'll be happy to talk to you, but I'd like to give these people their opportunity to tell you what's coming. Thank you all very much.
Okay, next we have a tag team, Will County District 7 board member Mike Fricilone, and Will County District 9 board member Ragan Freitag. Mike is a 25-year resident of Will County and was elected to Will County Board in 2012. Currently serves as Majority Whip, Chairman of the Finance Committee, and Vice Chairman of the Capital Improvement Committee. Mike was recently installed as a member of the Will County Children's Advocacy Center, and he continues to serve as president of the Lockwood High School Foundation, is a member of St. Bernard's Finance Committee, is on the board of the Order of Sons of Italy in America. In 1997, Mike helped found Midwest Office Interiors, where he is currently Executive Vice President of Sales. Mike and his high school sweetheart, Barbara, live in Homer Glen, where they've raised 3 children and are proud grandparents of 5. Ragan Freitag is a graduate of Joliet Catholic Academy and is one of the few women that has graduated from the Citadel. She's an attorney and practices criminal defense, family law, and government law. Her primary focus is criminal defense cases such as traffic, DUI, domestic battery, misdemeanor, and felony matters. She's also expanded her practice to the family division, where she focuses on orders of protection, divorce, child support, adoption, and surrogacy law. She serves as the Vice President of the Will County Women's Bar Association. Ragan lives in Wilmington and was elected to the Will County Board also in 2012. She's a former member of the Land Use Committee, and currently she serves as the Chairman of the Capital Improvement Committee and is Vice Chairman of the Judicial Committee. Please welcome our District 7 and 9 Will County Board members, Mike Fricilone and Ragan Freitag.
Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Chief Judge. You stole some of the points that I was going to say, but that's fine. And I think what it shows is that we're all on the same page. This is a team effort, and I am very proud to stand here before all of you to say that we all did this together, and that includes some of you all in the audience, and we're going to continue to need your help. I decided when the chairmanship was up for the Capital Improvements Committee, I wanted it for several reasons. Not just because I'm an attorney and that's my second home, and I feel like some days I live there, but you know, there's other buildings that also need attention in the county. And I feel like the theme reason is safety. And it's not just safety for me or for the attorneys, but it's for our county employees and our jury that go in there, our, you know, your husbands, your wives, your brothers, your sisters. It's not just for the attorneys, the defendants. You know, unfortunately, even children have to attend court. But again, it's not just the courthouse. We had to look at the sheriff's facility. The sheriff's facility is where justice starts and where some of our children and some of our victims are interviewed. And that facility needed attention. And the way we looked at this, it's almost like a domino. We needed to get the sheriff's facility done first, and then look at the courthouse, and then our last and oldest building is the Will County Health Department. And I remember as a little girl, my sister's here, my mom's here, thank you for coming, that my sister and I would ride in the car with my dad. He's a funeral director, a business owner. And we'd run errands with him all the time, and he'd always go over to the health department to get death certificates. And I remember back then how old and dilapidated that building is. And here I am, how many years later, and I know that's another building that we need to pay attention to as well. And again, circle back, it's about safety. And unfortunately, we all see what's happening in the country and in the world today. It's not just government buildings, it's Army, military bases, it's movie theaters. And we need, that's our job as government to make that decision, to know that it's time to spend money, but spend money in a responsible way to protect our constituents. And that's, I knew it was going to be a really big feat, but I wanted to take that on. And kind of like what they were saying, or as they're introducing, you know, I went to the Citadel. It was a big feat, but if I can get through there, I can get through this. So I'm looking forward to working with Mike and working with you all on continuing these projects. I have to thank Bob Odekirk and John Gurl. I don't think we would have gotten this done without their help and their contribution, especially the financial contribution. And we're going to continue to work with them in improving downtown Joliet, which is going to improve the downtown and the businesses, and also, you know, help our constituents who will be attending and going to the courthouse as well. So I look forward to that. Thank you. And then at this juncture, we have approved a construction manager. We have approved a commissioning agent, and then we've also recently signed our contract with the architect, White Company. Jason will speak on what he has done and what he's the next steps, yeah. So, but I mean, it's every day. Every day we're working on this. I probably spend more time with him and with some people here than I do with my family, and I thank you all for that. And I'm glad they're here so they know that this is my passion. But I think we've done a good job, and I'm looking forward to moving forward on this.
Thanks, Ragan. And Daniel Burnham said make no small plans. I usually say go big or go home. And so when we took a look at this, we know that the talk, as the Chief Justice said, the talk had been about the courthouse on his end, but there have been talk about the Sheriff's Department and the Health Department and northern satellites and all of these things. So when we sat down, we said, let's look at the whole project. Let's take a holistic approach to this and say, how will all of this come together? Well, obviously, as Ragan said, we couldn't move people out of one building until you build the next building, so there's going to be a domino effect to it. So we said, well, then why don't we look at the whole process? We can labor to work for a long period of time by doing one building right after the other. And so that's what we did. This month we'll pass our parameter ordinance for up to $275 million in bonds, which is a lot of money. We're going to probably build 4 buildings off of that. Starting with the Sheriff's Department, it should break ground, give you a little timetable, should break ground this summer. Hopefully we'll be moving people in there by next summer, end of next summer. And of course, they'll be coming out of the Midwest Bank building, the old building. And that demo can start at the end of next year, beginning of the following year, 18. We can start in earnest in 18 on building the courthouse. Jason gets his work done on time. And within 2 years, a little over 2 years, hopefully we'll finish that project up. In the meantime, we'll start looking at what we're doing from the health department. And through all of that, we'll be evaluating how can we affect the court system by adding maybe a northern satellite so that we can put some courthouses and some other services from the government up a little closer to the population expanding. It is expanding. I think Jason will show that on one of his slides. Probably the most key important part to all this is where does the money come from? And when we took a look at it, one of the things we said is, how can we do this without having a tax increase? And so we looked at a lot of the different revenue sources, a lot of little pieces to the puzzle. Chief Judge talked about legislation that gave us the court fee, $1.5 million a year. When we did our projections for the next 25, 30 years, we just projected $1.5 million a year. But we know that will grow because court cases are growing, so that number will get bigger. We took into parking lots that we own and the income that comes in from those. The PBC has revenue that comes in every year that we'll be using. We have some roll-off of bonds. We have host fees from the landfill. We also have RTA tax money. We're putting all of those pieces together. We said we can comfortably be able to handle this $275 million worth of bonds without having to raise our taxes. So that's the ultimate plan. And as I said, it'll be a little bit domino, but once we get going, I think you'll see one thing after the other. And Doc, we're going to keep guys super busy. So I'm sure you guys will be happy about that. If you have questions for Ragan and I, we've been taking this road show out for the last couple of months. If anybody needs to speak at other places, because we do want to make sure that everybody understands how we're doing this, what the timetable is, so there's no guessing out there. You know, the papers do a good job of putting information out, and certainly if there's questions, let us know. So thanks again for having us.
Engineer. One of my jobs as a civil engineer is to ensure that the dreams of architects don't fall down or flood or cause traffic accidents. It's not the pretty work, but it often gets blamed for holding a public project. Frankly, without my work, nothing works. Needless to say, the relationship between engineers and architects is often strained because we see projects from different viewpoints. Our next speaker is an architect. Enough said. Of course, I'm kidding a little. Jason Dwyer is one of those architects that's on the civil engineer's good list. And he's a project architect from White & Company designing our county's courthouse. Jason has more than 20 years of experience exploring various design and construction challenges, including a career focused in justice and public sector projects. As a vice president of White, his experience involves diverse building types, including county, municipal, educational, industrial, commercial office, and developmental land planning. His expertise in sustainable design includes several LEED Gold and LEED Platinum certified projects. Today, Jason's going to show us some pictures, so please welcome the architect for our new courthouse.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Dwyer with White & Company. Excited to show you what we've been working on for the past, several years now in terms of the overall conceptual planning for the new courthouse. But I think Mike and Ragan made some really great points about, we've been talking a lot about the new courthouse, but this really is an important piece for all of the components that are part of the master plan for the county as a whole. And we really started with the county, I'd say maybe 6-7 years ago with a needs analysis that focused on county government facilities, justice facilities, really all the facilities that are necessary to keep the county operating effectively. What I have up on the screen here now is a little map that, one of the things we do when we look at these things is get a feel for where the county population is, how best to serve the county and the location of facilities. So with our consultants, we did a little study to determine where the continued growth is going to be in the county. So beside the core focus of facilities in downtown Joliet, there's also a strong notion that the county's put in place for bringing services to the community where they reside. I think we all know that there's a big growth pocket of people and a big concentration of population in the northern part of the county. And then as we look at down the road a little bit, continued growth in the eastern and maybe a little later southern part of the county. So it's a large geographic area, and I think the key is to make sure that those services and components that are necessary for daily life are distributed throughout the county. So on the graphic, the red dot in the center there is really the focus of core facilities in downtown Joliet, and then a notion for future facilities in other parts of the county to continue to support the needs. Okay, so zooming in a little bit here into downtown Joliet, I think most of you know where the proposed location for the courthouse is, bounded by Joliet, Jefferson, Ottawa, and Washington Street, basically directly between the current courthouse and the City Hall for Joliet, former First Midwest Bank building. When the county acquired that property, they also were able to acquire a little bit of additional land south of Washington Street. So one of the things that was important in the overall planning is to think about not only what are we doing today that's going to last 40, 50 years, but as you plan for the future, what are the needs going to continue to be, or how do you have a contingency plan if needs change in the future? So having some additional land in the downtown Joliet area is a key piece of that. It's a little bit of a blank slate right now, but it allows for continued growth of operations and needs in the future. Then the other big thing we've looked at is really, what makes up a total court system. Right now, the county has courts in the River Valley, which is really focused on juvenile detention components and juvenile court matters. The MCO court building, the court annex, has a number of civil courts in it. So in the plan right now, we're going to keep the 6 courts that are in the MCO building, and then long-term, those courts will roll into the new building. So the idea is to build a building that provides some immediate growth in the number of courtrooms. So with the new construction, we'll have 7 more courtrooms than the county has right now, but the potential to continue to add courtrooms through build out of shell space to continue to grow to meet the needs as they continue in the future. And then the other components on there are really focused on longer term solutions in terms of the satellite courts and how that can continue to accommodate the system. The other big piece of it, aside from planning and all the metrics we do in terms of projecting for judges, is really making sure that the building is designed in a way that is responsive to the place that it's in. So we had a really nice visioning session with a lot of the key leaders from the judiciary and a lot of the user groups very early in the process. And one of the things that came out of that was a desire to have a building that really, spoke to the heritage and the importance of what downtown Joliet is. Work towards some of the history, but also a building that stood out and could be a catalyst for looking to the future and improvements and kind of giving a new look on how things can continue. So we tried to incorporate a lot of the elements of the steel, the limestone, picking up on some of the heritage of the downtown Joliet. But we also took a look at what's being done nationally. A building like this is a significant investment in an area. And we find that, as you look at a lot of these other projects, some of these are courthouses that are in Florida or Denver and other locations around the country. Every one of them has had a unique impact on the area where it resides. And the key there is take advantage best you can of how you can, design a building that can have a positive impact. Joliet is poised for a lot of continued greatness as things continue. And I think the more that buildings like this can, speak to the heritage and have a nice vision and look to the future, that's a good catalyst for continued development and redevelopment of areas. So this is an image of what we're proposing right now in terms of the concept design. This is a view from Ottawa and Jefferson. You can see the MCO court annex building on the far right side of the screen, and the old courthouse, existing courthouse on the left side of the screen. We're proposing a building that has a stone facade as well as a glassy facade. One of the things that I think is important for justice is the idea of transparency. And we want to know what happened. We want it to be an inviting place as much as it can be. A lot of people that are going to courts, it's a very stressful situation, whether it's a criminal or family or civil matter. No matter what the case is, it's a stressful environment. So a lot of it is, trying to make it as inviting as possibly can. So I'm just going to slide through a couple different images here. This is an aerial view that gives you kind of a feel from a top-down perspective of what the building looks like. Strong notion of having I feel like my mic's cutting in and out here a little bit, but a strong notion of having a nice sit-up plaza out front of the building, an entry forecourt really. We have a shorter leg of the building that really accommodates a lot of the office functions, and we're looking at doing a vegetated roof there, even having some opportunities for the folks that are in the building to be able to get outside without having to go back down through security. So we're exploring some of those opportunities as we progress in the design. But the whole north facade is really planned as a classy facade. That really is the entire public corridor of the building. I'll show you in some plans in a minute here. And then the courtrooms themselves kind of sit in the middle of the tall tower block. A little bit more of an opaque look to it because they have to be controlled, contained a little bit differently than the public corridor areas. So I talked about the transparency of justice. We've got an entry component here that's very glassy. Gives people a sense of arrival, a sense of understanding where they need to go as they enter the court building, because there's so many different functions and entities that take place in there. It also gives us a great opportunity to improve some of the challenges that are at the existing courthouse. Right now, I think many of you know that a little bit before court time, you got a nice line outside the building. People wound around the block waiting to get in and get through security. So that's one of the things that the current courthouse has a real challenge with. It was planned in the era where security and screening was just not done. It was a different world then. So it's important to have ample space to get people inside, out of the weather, while they're waiting to get through security, make sure it's a safe building. So I'm not going to kind of go through all the detail on the plans, but just give you kind of a quick overview. This is the first floor plan. Talked about a pretty spacious lobby to deal with security and screening coming in. And then really the other piece is a lot of the important public service components of the building, things like the jury commission and jury assembly. Right now, I think anybody who served jury duty there knows that it can be a little bit lackluster, a little challenging space to come into. So we're trying to make that a little bit better experience. I mean, these people are given their time to perform an important duty. I think at least we can do is make it a little bit more comfortable. The clerk space is a very big component of customer service. So locating that on the first floor so that people can get in, take care of their business with the clerk, and then get out of the building pretty convenient without having to spend a lot of time going up and down through the building. Another high volume piece there is the traffic court on the first floor. That's a pretty high call. So we try to organize all these really high volume spaces in the lower level of the building to minimize the impact on vertical circulation through the building. One other thing I'll note is a lot of the service components of the building. On the south side there along Washington with the Sally Port and then servicing docks and so forth. Try to organize that to the south side of the building so that we can maintain the other street presences a little bit more clean and open to be more supportive to the city. We have lower level central holding and then secure parking. Then moving up to the second floor, we continue kind of on that northern wing of the building with a lot of the office functions of the clerks, some of their back office functions. And then you start to see in the tower portion, the lower part there, start of the courtrooms themselves. So as we continue to work our way up through the building, we have a pretty organized stack and organization of 4 courtrooms at each floor. There's going to be civil courts, criminal courts, family courts, all different types of courtrooms in there, but we've organized a pretty rigorous and consistent planning zone so that we've got good flexibility. We make projections to determine how many cases are going to be criminal and civil, but these things change all the time, so we want to make sure we have good flexibility in how that can be adapted and adjusted in the future to make it a really 50, 100-year building. I talked a little bit before about this idea of having this vegetated roof area. We're exploring some opportunities about trying to give people access to the outside. You've got folks that are working in this building 12 hours a day oftentimes, and I think just the idea of being able to get outside and reconnect with nature a little bit is an important piece. We talked a little bit, mentioned about sustainability. That's something that's very important to us in terms of the way we do our design, making sure that the spaces have a lot of natural light for people to keep you connected with nature, and just the ability to do things like rainwater harvesting or minimize the rainwater runoff impacts. Civil engineers always appreciate when you do that. So, we're trying to incorporate a lot of those sustainable strategies in the design of the building to be good stewards of the environment. And then really, as you progress through the building through the upper floors, it's a continuation of 4 courts per floor to kind of round out toward the top with some specialty spaces of grand jury and other functions at the very top of the building. So I'll just kind of give you a couple other slides, different views of the building. Continuing on that sustainability thought, we tried to design the different facades of the building to be, responsible to, the way that they're facing. So we've got some, east and west facades that are designed a little bit differently to manage the heat gain and the solar exposure. North and south facades, again, having a little bit different look. So that's why we've got some different scenarios as we work our way around the building here. This is the south facade, Washington Street. So just to kind of end up here, we thought it'd be fun to show kind of what the progression of the courts has been from the early courts in 1884 to the current courthouse, and then on the far right, the proposed new courthouse. So just gives you an idea of how how things change and how they progress as the planning continues. That's all I have.
We have a couple of minutes, we can probably take a couple questions, if everybody has any. Yeah, Jim.
I saw that you have parking in the basement. What kind of security do we have for that?
Yeah, well, so the access to the parking is going to be secured. So, right now it's planned for judges and other, special folks that are part of the system. So the idea is that before you can even gain access into that, we've got a security point before you can get into the basement. And then that area then connects into the staff corridors, basically, up through the building.
After the new facility is built, what happens to the old courthouse?
Well, I think that's something that we're still looking at. One of the things we studied in the overall planning is whether the old courthouse could be renovated. Maybe we should do a smaller new building and renovate. But one of the challenges is it's very strongly built building, which is a positive generally. But the hard part is it's designed in such a way that all the spaces are too small for what needs to be done. So I think it's something we're still looking at, but it's got some real challenges in terms of being a long-term asset, I think, for the county to be used for other functions. A lot of it comes down to the amount of money you have to invest into that facility to make it viable long-term.
I think Mike wanted to say.
Well, I saw John Burrell had a question. You wanted to know what was the city of Joliet's participation in this building, right, John? Because I didn't mention that earlier. Through the county executive's office and the county board, we were able to negotiate a deal with the mayor and the rest of their board, and they're contributing $10 million to this project. So they came out strong and said, we want this downtown, we want to be a part of this, and that's going to be a key component to our finance. Thanks for that question.
So I had read a little bit about this, how to basically pay for this court project. And so one of the things that I had read about, and again, I would like some further explanation about it, is possibly using motor fuel taxes as well as RTA sales taxes. And so I'm kind of wondering what's the justification for using dollars that, in my mind, are for a specific pot of money for our roads where this is not a road project.
Okay. We won't be using motor fuel tax. That is for roads. The RTA tax is for public safety. So anything that goes along with public safety can be used. Those funds can be used for. And if we look at the funds right now, we're bringing in about $24 billion a year, and that's growing. By the end of the bonds, we'll be at 46, 48 million, maybe more, depending on how the growth goes. We were very conservative in our estimates on that. The road projects that we have on the books right now, the road projects we're doing, will be able to be covered by everything that we have in the till. And we don't see stopping anything because we're going to be using a portion of that. The other thing is when we did our projections, and I was alluding to the fact that the court fee is right now $1.5 million, which I think is what
It just goes in and out.
goes in and out. Chief Judge has said $1.5 million. When we did our projections, we projected it at $1.5 million throughout a 25-year period. But we know that money's going to grow. As that grows, we'll reduce our reliance on RTA as much as possible. And if the projections would play out as we think they probably will, we'll probably be down to zero somewhere in 15 to 18 years of using RTA tax. So we're trying to use as minimal amount as possible of that money.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting and very well done. Thank you.